I'm Dick Cross. For the past 2.5 decades, I've been running businesses and teaching others how to do it very well. I've been fortunate along the way. I've been to some great schools. I went to the University of Virginia and Columbia and Harvard. Along the way, I was also a special intelligence officer on the staff of Admiral Elmo Zumwalt when he was running the U.S. Navy through the Vietnam War. My first real job after business school was to carry the bags for some great old Harvard Business School professors and watch them fix companies. That launched me into a career of consulting, which included 8 assignments as a CEO to turn around troubled companies. I've also been a private equity partner twice. Through it all, I've carried one single obsession, and that is for the job at the top. Because I know that when that job is done well, not only does the business perform well, but the business makes an indelible, positive contribution to the lives of everyone it touches. My keynotes, they're not for everybody. Yeah, they're entertaining. They're full of challenges, emotions, ups and downs, surprises. But entertainment's not my point. My best audiences are truly interested in becoming better in their jobs at the top of their companies, of their departments, of their project teams, maybe even of their families or of their church groups. For those kinds of audiences, I can deliver an extraordinary experience. Okay, so what do I think is holding back most of the people who are running companies these days from being better? It's the fact that they're anxious about whether they're doing a good enough job all along. I can tell you a story. For 7 years, I developed and taught the Mid-Tier President's course at Harvard. And it was a 5-day intensive course. And on the first day, everybody would show up with their shiny briefcase and their chest puffed out and their lipstick just perfect, showing off to everybody that they knew what they were doing. It was absolutely predictable. Second day, 2 o'clock in the afternoon, cloud lifts. All of a sudden, one person looks at the other and says, "Do you really know what you're doing?" The other person says, "I don't know. I'm so glad to see somebody that doesn't." Open yourself up to getting better, and you can. It's easier than you think.
It is setup day here at the 2012 NACE Expo. We are lucky enough to sit here with Dick Cross, tomorrow's keynote speaker. And Dick, I wondered if you could give us just a little taste of what you plan to present attendees with tomorrow.
Really, what's been my life work for 25 years and my obsession and my passion. And we're going to talk about, I call it the greatest question never asked. And that question is, how do you run a business? Mike, I hope you can hear me behind there because that was an absolutely fabulous introduction. Everybody get up fast. We don't have a lot of time. All right, we're going to do this thing. This is like getting married. I'm going to say something, you're going to say something, and we're also going to do the hand jive. Okay, you ready? A man is but the product of his thoughts. What he thinks, he becomes. Don't sit down yet. We got Cross's corollary. You ready? Okay, we're going to do it again. Y'all did great. Most people don't do this well. A business is but the product of the CEO's thoughts. What she thinks, it becomes. Sit down. Let me give you one more. Everybody calm, seated. This is from one of my favorite 19th century thinkers who said, "We must form perfect models in thought and look at them continuously if we are to," and I love these next words, "we must form perfect models in thought and look at them continuously if we are to," here it comes, carve out grand and noble lives. So I'm going to give you 3 frameworks for how to think like a CEO. And then we're going to shift over to the other side and we're going to talk about what is this character thing all about? What's it all about? And I've got things that will surprise you all. Now, I'm going to do something that you've probably never seen before. I'm going to actually draw you a picture while I'm talking. I promise you that if you will spend 20 minutes, door closed, computer off, phone off, in your office 3 days a week, simply looking and thinking about these diagrams, and you've all got them in the handout that's on your sheet. If you spend 20 minutes 3 days a week, they will change your life. In 1991, I wrote this article. In about 10 days, I get a call from a fellow from New Jersey. And he says, Mr. Cross. I said, no, it's Dick. He said, okay, Dick. He said, I read that article in the Business Review, and I'm interested in it. He said, interested in this vision and this culture thing, and the culture thing particularly. How long does it take me to get one, and what does it cost? And at that moment, I said, there's some people I can't help. I have done a lot of tricks with unselfishness in companies. I had one where had 2,000 employees and a roof, a single-story building with a 17-acre roof, and it was chaos, and everybody was fighting to sort of try to be in charge. And I decided I was going to be a humble leader, and I showed up the first day, and I figured out that I could show up with nobody knowing who I was and a shirt with my name on it, and I could work on an assembly line for a week and ride trucks. Concurrently with that, what I ended up doing was having all the reserved parking spaces painted over. And when I went up to the offices, I told people, I said, look, you got it all wrong. You wander around this company like it's all about you. This is not your company. This is everybody else's company. Your job is to serve them to make it better. Draw the organization chart upside down with the point at the bottom. Your job is to help everyone else be successful. It's not about you. And when you arrive in the morning, your job is to get there before anybody else, and you park as far away from the front door as you possibly can, and I don't care if it's raining. This job is not about you, it's about everyone else. One of my favorite, again, a 19th century thinker, had a great little treatise on humor, and he said, bad humor. He said, bad humor is the noxious is smelly, the noxious bubble arising to the surface that reveals the existence of something rotten below. Went on to describe in the same little lecture, said, you know, bad humor is the indelible blot spoiling an otherwise noble character. There is no room for bad humor in your behavior at the top. What guilelessness is about in an organizational context, particularly in your job at the top, says no back channel, no back channel, no behind-the-back conversations about people, no running somebody down. And inevitably, people are going to come into your office and say, whew, got to talk to you about Jeff. Jeff is about to turn this whole thing upside down and it's going to be a problem. You have only two responses in that situation. One of them, the first one, it says, look, that's not my job. You talk to Jeff about it. And if there's a well, say, fine, okay, here's the other alternative. What you need to do is you and Jeff come and talk to me about it together, and we'll get this straightened out. The last piece is sincerity. What does sincerity mean? It wraps up a lot of the others. It means that you just really, really care. It means that what you say you're going to do, you do it because you wrote it down in your book and you care about people and you want to make them feel important. Your job as the CEO is the bottom of the pyramid, actually. It's not the top. People love stories about people. They love stories about cleverness. They love stories about bravery. They love stories about fun. Your organization wants to have stories about you. Give them stories. Give them stories. Lore, coupled up with behavior, coupled up with clear thinking about your business. Red Blunt, in the late 80s, was the wealthiest man in Alabama. He'd come out of the Second World War. He'd bought some road graders and built a construction company. And at the time, I was on his board. And he was building a big power plant about 100 miles from Montgomery, Alabama. He was also building the largest fixed-cost construction project that had ever been contracted in the world. He had gone to the king of Saudi Arabia and said, yep, give me a corner outside of the city of Riyadh and $1.5 billion and I will build you a university. He's just that kind of guy. Ramrod straight, statuesque man. That day wearing a navy blue pinstripe three-piece suit English cat-toed shoes sitting at the head of the director's table, and I'm sitting to his right. And an assistant comes in and brings him a note. And Red takes the note, opens it up and reads it, and he's quiet for a minute, closes it, puts it in his jacket pocket, slides back from the table, replaces the chair, turns, walks out the door. We're all thinking, gosh, what happened? I hope Caroline, his wife, is okay. Later that day, we heard the story. Red had driven himself to the airport. Red had jumped in the left-hand seat, which is the pilot's seat of the Bell Ranger helicopter, and had flown to that job site 150 miles away, where that note had told him that an employee had been trapped at the bottom of a footer, a 40-foot hole, by a retaining wall that had collapsed. Red got out of that Bell Ranger, grabbed a hard hat, and Red climbed down the ladder. And he kneeled down in the mud, still in his three-piece suit and in his English shoes, and he held that man's head for an hour until he was released. By the end of the week, Red had held that man's head for 4 hours. By the end of the month, he had held his head for 12 hours. The man had only worked for the company for 3 months and couldn't speak English, and Red had saved his life. That is lore. There are coupons on your seats. Ron has negotiated a pretty good discount on the book. I promise you, if you buy it and you don't like it, I'll pay you back. Thanks.